I flew 8 missions, was shot down on my 9th mission in the Battle of the Bulge. According to the report here, I was on an operational mission to Eller Railroad Bridge in Germany, 23rd of December, 1944. My squadron lost 10 planes. I was the pilot of plane number 43-34185. I was somewhere in the vicinity of Seffern, Germany, and actually, as near as I could calculate from my own calculations, I hit in Luxembourg coming back. I hit in German front lines in Luxembourg. But I was completely lost as far as the group goes. They never knew what happened to me. Well, what happened, I was flying window, dropping tinfoil. We flew 1,000 feet below the group or squadron that was following us, and we made S-turns across the path so that the tinfoil would knock out the radar of the Germans. I was flying the right wing on the window, and to make the S-turns, we flew at full throttle. So every time my leader turned away from me, he left me a little bit, and then when he turned into me, I caught back up with him. We had gotten to the target. We made a turn off target, and he made a 180-degree turn instead of just an S-turn. And of course, flying outside wing at full throttle anyway, there was no way I could keep up with him. So he left me a little distance back, and just as we finished turning off target, the fighters picked him up. And I watched the fighter get behind him. You can see this on there, can't you? I watched the fighter get behind him, and he just sat on his tail, and he did that about 3 times. Fire started at his waist windows, went up to his wings, and went out both wings, and he just rolled over, and he went out of sight upside down on fire. Well, I decided they really didn't need any more tinfoil at that point, and so I swung up to join the group and get a little extra fire support. And just as I joined one group of 6, fighters jumped that group. I called my turret gunner and told him to get the lead pilot. We were only about a block away from him, and I guess that's 500 feet. We were fairly close, but I banked in, and my turret gunner started the tracers right behind the tail of that plane and walked up into the cockpit. So I know we got one plane. My nose gunner tells me he helped get another one, but that I'm not aware of. But just as we got this one plane, I didn't see him go down even. I watched the tracers go up into his cockpit, and then we got hit. And it was just a hail of tracer bullets converging in front of my nose. Sounded like you were throwing rocks on a tin roof. And they knocked out in that pass, they knocked out my left engine. My left wheel was shot loose and was hanging out. They got my hydraulics. The turret gunner, they shot the armor plate off of in front of him. They shot both canisters out holding his 50 caliber bullets. They shot his leg rests out from under him, and they only scratched his leg. But they got my hydraulics, the tail turret in that B-26 with a hydraulic turret, and I don't know whether that was the reason or not, but the tail turret quit working. So I only had the top turret. The machine guns would not pull a full tape of bullets, so my gunner broke his, he later told me this, I saw him in France on the way home, but he broke his bullets in 10 rounds in each 50 caliber gun. We had 5 fighters that stayed with me. We were at 12-5 when they first jumped me, and I bailed out at about 1,500 feet, and I think I was losing about 500 feet a minute. So it was about 15 minutes they were on me. They would attack me 3 at a time and 2 at a time. I was never able to get my gunners to give me coherent instruction. They would just get on that mic and start chattering, and I knew I was fixing to get hit but didn't know from where. I'd get hit. I'd get out of the bullets. The turret gunner would shoot his 20 rounds, and that group would peel off. I could see them coming down below me. In fact, I charged my 5 forward guns because I was going to get one if he didn't stay too low below me, but they never got close enough for me to drop down and try to get one. But they'd come in 3 and then 2. He'd shoot those guns, and they'd go off. After I got down to about 10,000 feet, ground fire picked me up, and I'd get these bursts of a dozen or so, just black dots. I'd move over, and they'd be where I was. I'd dodge that ground fire until the fighters got to me again, and they'd hit me again. When I left the airplane, they had reported to me my left engine was on fire, and I gave the bailout order. At that point, I could wiggle every control on my pedestal, and there wasn't any control connected. As far as I could tell, the throttles, the mixture controlled, everything shot completely loose. We'd been hit every time they came in. They later told me that when they got out of the plane and looked back, I had 2 engines on fire. But at the time I jumped, the left engine was on fire. The intercom went out from the time they told me the engine was on fire and I gave the bailout order. They reported that they told me when the last man was leaving, but that report never came up. So my intercom went out between the time I ordered them out and we actually left. I got my nose gunner out, bailed him out, and then got my co-pilot out, stayed with the plane as long as I thought I could because you never know when it's going to blow up, but I wanted to be sure the tail had emptied. And then I went to bail out. Everybody got out of the plane. My tail gunner went down into the trees with his chute flapping. He was the only man that didn't make it. But I stayed with the plane so long that they didn't know I had gotten out. We got completely separated. Went to bail out. I got up, started out, and I still had my mic and my headsets plugged in. I just backed up and took a lunge and broke those loose because I was in a hurry. I got out on the catwalk, and these planes hitting us were Focke-Wulf 190s, looked like they'd just come out of the factory. Paint job brand new. And they were coming close enough so that you could see them real well. Well, when I got on that catwalk, there was a German about 50 feet below me, just flying there looking up into the bomb bay, probably trying to see if anybody's still in the airplane. Well, instead of going to the back of the bomb bay like I should have and diving forward, I just took a swan dive toward the tail. I blacked out. The wind broke my helmet loose, evidently, because I had my feet toward the wind. Blacked me out. I got a little cut across the face from that or from the riser, I don't know which. But I had a sensation of tumbling. Then I jerked the ripcord. I was conscious, but I was blacked out. I had no sense of sight. Evidently, it knocked me out because my next thing I remember, the chute was not oscillating. The chute was standing vertically. I was fairly low. I could see the Germans running to meet me. I still had the ripcord. I looked at that and decided I didn't need it anymore and threw it away. Germans didn't shoot at me. I came down and I was drifting backwards. Well, we had learned in one of the schools that you should always turn and go forward because as you're drifting, if you come down backwards, it's going to knock your feet out from under you and flop you on the ground. I tried everything they told me to try to turn that parachute around, and it wouldn't turn around. So I hit the ground going backwards. I remember I looked up one time at that parachute, and that thing looked like it wasn't 10 feet across. It was the smallest looking chute you ever saw. But I hit in the German reserve company, evidently. We were in the Battle of the Bulge. We had sat and watched for 7 days. We had watched the bulge get bigger and bigger and deeper. And the 8th day, if you remember the Patton movie, he had his chaplain pray for clear weather. He got it. So that was the reason I got shot out. He played for that good day.